Our first speaker tonight is Tom Wilde with the speech, The Grand Poobah. The Grand Poobah by Tom Wilde.
As we get older, a lot of us have a bucket list, goals to achieve before we die. One of my items on the bucket list, which I have achieved, is to climb Mount Everest. But I wasn't going to climb Mount Everest like all these wimps who get a guide or take along an oxygen tank. Real men don't do that. I was going to climb Mount Everest in my joggers, my t-shirt and my tracky dackies. I set off on my climb. I went up and up and up until everyone at base camp looked like little ants. And I looked around and the scenery was beautiful. Snow-capped mountains, sunshine glistening off the freshly fallen snow, a cool wind at my back and wildflowers everywhere. It was beautiful. I walked along ridges and across crevices and I thought, this is easy. And suddenly I heard a crack and I started to fall and fall. I was falling hundreds of feet and I thought, this is it. I'm not going to survive. Fortunately, I landed in a blanket of fresh snow and I slowly lost consciousness. When I awoke, I was lying on a bed of straw in a cave. And I could see this tall ape-like creature. It was about 10 foot tall, covered in golden fur. And I thought, this has got to be the legendary Yeti. And he came towards me. And he had food in his hand. And I thought, oh, he wants me to eat it. So I hesitantly took it off him and tasted it. It tastes like chicken. I looked around and I saw this campfire on the side of the cave and a pile of straw and a pile of empty KFC containers. He slowly came towards me and gently picked me up. And the Yeti took me out of the cave, down the mountain and across the valley. We crossed crevices and ridges and mountain streams until suddenly, before me, I thought, this is the most beautiful village I have ever seen. This has got to be Shangri-La. And as we got closer, I knew it was Shangri-La by the snow-capped mountains and the lake around the village, by the mystical golden archway entrance, and by the sign above a building that said Shangri-La Post Office. I spent a couple of weeks in their hospital recovering, and when I recovered, they took me before their leader, the Grand Poobah. And he told me about the legend of the Golden Yeti who would bring the new Grand Poobah to the village, to Shangri-La, and that I was to be the new Grand Poobah, their new leader. And they would wait on me hand and foot for the rest of my life. And I'm thinking, I could get used to that. The next day, they inducted me as the Grand Poobah. But after a few weeks of eating nothing but KFC, the novelty started to wear off. And I just thought, oh, that's it. Oh, I've had enough of this. And so I planned to escape from Shangri-La. So one night, I got up and I made my way back through that mystical archway into the Himalayas and escaped Shangri-La. I spent days wandering around the Himalayas looking for base camp, and I realised I was lost. And suddenly when I went around a corner, I felt a crack, and again the ice broke away from me, and I fell and fell, but fortunately I landed on some backpackers making their way up the mountain. We were all rushed to hospital, and as I lay there recovering, I told them the story about the Golden Yeti and Shangri-La, but no one believed me. They said I was delirious, that I was suffering from altitude sickness, that I've just hallucinated the whole thing. And I think, yeah, maybe I did. And then I felt and saw something in my pocket, and I pulled it out. It was a KFC napkin. Madam MC.